What if the man the world adored was a complete mystery, even to his own family? A Broadway star, a TV icon, a voice that captivated millions, but a stranger to those closest to him. Jack Cassidy, the Tony-winning showman of the 60s, lived a life cloaked in secrets. A persona so carefully crafted, it left his own sons questioning who he really was. He was a phony, his son Shaun Cassidy revealed in a shocking confession. But what drove this charismatic star to hide behind a fake accent and a polished facade? What dark truths lay beneath the glitz and glamour of his Hollywood life? Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on Jack Cassidy's enigmatic life, a tale of fame, family, and a tragic end that still haunts his legacy. Buckle up, because this story will keep you guessing until the very end. Picture this: a dimly lit Broadway stage. The year is 1964, and Jack Cassidy steps into the spotlight. The audience is spellbound, hanging on his every word, his every note. His charm is electric, his presence magnetic. But there's something curious about the way he speaks, a peculiar, almost British accent that seems to belong nowhere and everywhere at once. To the world, it's part of his allure. To his sons, Shaun, Patrick, and Ryan, it's a puzzle. What is up with this dude? Shaun recalls thinking as a kid, watching his father on TV, speaking in a voice that didn't exist at home. Jack Cassidy wasn't just a star. He was a man who invented himself, piece by piece, accent by accent. But why? Why would a man so talented, so celebrated, feel the need to hide who he was? Let's go back to the beginning. Jack Cassidy was born in New York City in 1927, in a world far removed from the dazzle of show business. His family were engineers, tied to the railroads, their lives built on structure and predictability. Jack was supposed to follow in their footsteps, to live a quiet, steady life. But at 14, he saw the bright lights of Broadway, and something inside him shifted. The stage wasn't just a dream, it was a calling. He threw himself into the world of theater, determined to make his mark. And he did. By the 1960s, Jack was a household name, starring in shows like He and She, winning a Tony for She Loves Me, and charming audiences on talk shows. But with every step up the ladder of fame, he seemed to drift further from the man he was born to be. Shaun Cassidy, now 66, recently shared a haunting insight with People magazine. My dad was so complicated. He basically invented this public persona with an accent that didn't exist in any country ever. Imagine being a child, sitting in your living room, watching your father on a grainy TV screen, hearing him speak in a voice that feels like it belongs to someone else. Shaun, along with his brothers, Patrick now 63 and Ryan 59, would exchange confused glances. To them, Jack's accent wasn't charming, it was phony. It was a mask, and it raised a question that would linger for decades. Who was Jack Cassidy, really? To understand Jack, we need to understand the world he lived in. The 60s were a golden era for Hollywood, a time when stars were larger than life, and the pressure to be perfect was relentless. Actors didn't just perform, they became icons, carefully crafted images that sold tickets, filled theaters, and graced magazine covers. Jack leaned into this, creating a persona that was part Broadway showman, part sophisticated gentleman. That accent, that polished charm, it was his ticket to standing out in a sea of talent. But it came at a cost. Shaun's words hint at a man who was never quite at ease with himself. I'm not sure he ever really figured out who he was. Jack's life wasn't just about the stage, it was about family too. He married Shirley Jones, an Oscar-winning actress whose beauty and talent made her a star in films like Oklahoma and The Music Man. Together, they were a power couple, the kind of duo that turned heads at every red carpet event. Their sons, Shaun, Patrick, and Ryan, grew up in the glow of their parents' fame, but that glow cast long shadows. Shaun described his childhood as a kind of performance, where everything was presentational. I had very, very few photographs of our family just sitting around the living room. Instead, their lives were documented in staged magazine shoots, professional portraits, moments crafted for the public eye. As a kid, Shaun was proud of his parents. Going out in public with them, everyone was in love with my mother, and everybody was sort of dazzled by my father. Shirley, even now at 91, remains a timeless beauty. And Jack, he was a force of nature. But that force didn't always reach home. He was not a good father, Shaun admitted, his voice tinged with both honesty and love. Jack wasn't the dad who showed up to Little League games or took his sons camping. Those moments fell to Shirley, who tried to balance her career with motherhood. My mom showed up for a lot of that stuff, but she was also gone a lot. She was making movies around the world. Shirley's role in the Partridge Family was a deliberate choice, a way to stay closer to her boys. But even she couldn't fill the void left by Jack's absence. The Cassidy family wasn't just living in Hollywood, they were navigating a world where fame came first, and family often came second. Shaun and his brothers grew up fast, leaning on each other and a tight-knit group of friends, other children of stars who understood the peculiar loneliness of a showbiz childhood. I have a whole friend group, kids, we were like peanuts, referencing the cartoon where the kids run the show because the adults are nowhere to be found. One of those friends was Carrie Fisher, the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher, who lived just 2 doors down. She was a good pal of mine. They survived the challenges of their upbringing, forming a bond that helped them thrive. But thriving didn't mean escaping unscathed. Shaun's reflections on his father are a mix of gratitude and grief. I got so many gifts from him, so many. He passed down his charisma, his talent, his love for the stage, but he also passed down a legacy of absence, of questions unanswered. And then, in 1976, that legacy was sealed in tragedy. Jack Cassidy died in an apartment fire at the age of 49. The official report called it an accident, a cigarette left burning, a moment of carelessness. But for those who knew Jack, the fire felt like a metaphor. A man who burned so brightly, consumed by his own flame. Shaun was just 18 when his father died. The loss was a gut punch, a wound that never fully healed. But it also marked the beginning of Shaun's own journey, a journey to find himself in the shadow of a man who never quite found himself. In the late 1970s, Shaun became a teen idol, a heartthrob whose hits like Dadu Ron Ron and That's Rock and Roll sent fans into a frenzy. He was Jack Cassidy's son, yes, but he was also something more, a star in his own right, with a voice and a presence that echoed his father's, but belonged to him alone. But fame came with its own shadows. By the 1990s, Shaun made a bold choice. He walked away from the spotlight. The screaming crowds, the adoring fans, it wasn't enough. He wanted to tell stories, to create, to build something lasting. So he reinvented himself as a writer, producer, and creator of TV shows, working behind the scenes to craft narratives that resonated. But the stage never stopped calling. In September 2025, Shaun returned with the Road to Us tour, his first full arena tour since 1980. At 66, he's not just revisiting his past, he's reclaiming it, performing for crowds who still remember the teen idol and new fans who see the man he's become. Every note Shaun sings carries a piece of Jack Cassidy, the charisma, the talent, the undeniable stage presence. But it also carries Shaun's own story, one of resilience, of finding his own voice in a world that tried to define him by his father's shadow. "I wouldn't have traded him for the world," Shaun said of Jack, and those words hold the heart of this story. A love that endures despite pain, a legacy that inspires despite its flaws. Jack's flame went out too soon, but his legacy burns on, through his sons, through his work, through the questions that linger. What do you think? Was Jack Cassidy a master of reinvention, or a man lost in his own facade? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this mystery alive. If this story gripped you, hit that like button, subscribe to Showbizpedia, and ring the bell so you never miss a tale from the spotlight. Until next time, keep chasing the truth behind the stars.